So David, Julie from Washington wrote, and she had the question that I think I've had many times, and that's Janusirsasana C. Like, why?
Oh, no.
Why?
For one, like there's esoteric reasons, like it's like the mountain, right? Why do you climb the mountain? Because it's there beckoning you. So this is a serious mountain, Janu C. And then also yogis court the impossible, right? And that has a way of getting further than you ever thought you could. And then that's also as an ego check. When you do something that is so hard that you may never get it, then you have to become humble. But then you also think in categories, okay? And the complex postures, they're combinations of categories. And so this one is a very strong hip, it requires hip range of motion. And it gives it. It both requires and gives it. And it's a forward bend. So in terms of breaking it down, then first, just eliminate the forward bend aspect. And so you go from a Dandasana position, and you work with the hip opening category aspect of it. So look at this. It's already, you're kind of like a frog. And so you lean out, and you can see that's kind of like Janu C right there. And look at this action. That's what you're trying to get to happen. And you're working, so the focus gets on, oh, this hurts my toes, right? And you don't think about like what's actually going on in the hip. And so that's the first thing, is just to start with that. But let's try it out. Everybody that's there, just take that and flip. So you flip it and you make your best try. So in Janu C, you're bringing your toes to the side. Okay, so that's the positioning, is look at that foot. It faces to the side when you do it. Okay, so when you do the flip, you try to get that toe to go to the side, like that. All right, and don't, at first, see, problems will come if you overuse your arms to do it. Okay, so because you want hip intelligence, and hip, not just hip. See, it's a myth that flexibility and strength are separate things. You know, they build them at the same time. Okay, so it's not a passive thing to open your hips. It's very active. And okay, so just try to get that. That's somewhat.
I'm breaking a sweat just doing this.
I know, right? Okay, so and then if you're really struggling, some won't be able to do it. Well, then you can sit on something, because you're right. If you're too far back,
right?
It won't go in.
It won't go in.
It won't go into the hip either. It won't work the actual joint that you're trying to create range of motion in. So you sit up a little bit on it, and then you've got an easier time. And notice I'm leaning a tiny bit over to the side that I'm going to do it. And then I'm trying to circle it in. Kind of and notice how I circle it, plant it, and then you have to do what you don't want to do, which is you want to go, oh, no, the toes. But you have to actually push harder into the toes. You push your toes into the ground in that position. Okay, and then you can take a little assist to bring it back and get it closer. But see, look at the toes are to the side, and I'm actually grounding them. And that also gives an action in the hip. Okay, so you're actually pushing a little bit into the toes, and then working the knee forward. And if that knee doesn't come down, I support it. I have the person just let it come down.
This is part of your foundation.
Yeah, that's part of the foundation.
So
and so you don't want that dangling up there. Yeah.
I'm a dangler.
Okay, and so see, we haven't even thought about the forward bend yet, and it's such a great posture. So much has happened without even considering that forward bend. So remember, you've got the flip and your toes to the side, and then when you get there, you don't even have to bring it further. You can just start pushing. And notice how there's a ways to go, but still a lot of good work can happen even if there's a ways to go. And so
now that spiral is hard, right?
Yeah,
this is not
it's
just
really hard.
This spiral is hard.
No, it's really hard.
Most of us think like I was saying before, they go out. It's one direction. It's like out and forward, but you're kind of talking about like
Yeah.
It's like this is going that way and that's going this way, right? It's like they're going in different directions.
They're going in different directions.
It's very complicated.
It is. And that's why you want to make that gesture though, because you can't really think it through all the way. But if you get a good move that does the actions kind of dynamically, then you don't have to think it through.
So this is one of those, we were talking yesterday in the Yoga Sutras about breaking things down in words.
Yeah.
And rather than intuition. And this is one of those that when I try to break it down into singular actions, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So hence the gesturing that
Yeah.
which kind of intuitively sets you up for that spiraling
Thing.
It's like emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Still hard.
it's kind of tricking your body into doing it properly.
Without telling it that it's really doing something ridiculous.
That's right. That's right. And people also, they get afraid, and somewhat rightfully, is to protect the knee. So remember that whenever you're playing with circularity of the hip, the knee, it's got the hinge, right? And so it doesn't have that circularity
Right.
unless it's fully closed. So when it's fully closed, then it has a rotational capability, some. But notice when you take like Padmasana, it's not as cleanly closed as here. So it's a little bit,
Right. Yeah.
and then, but you still can cleanly close it, but it's a little bit compromised, and that's the same here. It's not exactly, so, but that means you want to take care to really feel this as compact, right? That hinge has closed fully. And that, so when you do it out here, it's less of that feeling, but it's also less pressure. It kind of keeps building pressure the more you take it back. And then you want to, I do that sometimes. You can feel it if you take your hands on your knees and really just snug it. And it feels good to just
Oh, it does feel good.
yeah. That like really closes it.
So we're supposed to really be doing that then in our legs.
In an image, not that physically
Not like,
too
but
much,
just really
but
hugging.
a feeling of like,
Hugging.
yeah, with that, yeah, and
And I suppose this relates later down the line. I mean, it can't be just random, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing is you don't actually officially visit this exact shape until third series, Virachasana B, right? So all the way here, and then you start going for the Mula Bandhasana moves, where you take it over, right? And so this is, it's the hilarious part is, look at this pig.
Hilarious.
No, this is the easiest version of the whole series of these, by far. By far. Like Mula Bandhasana, you have to roll over both
That's true.
at the same time.
That's
and it's much harder.
Yeah.
So it's so you can think of it that way too. It's an easy. It's the baby version of a whole category of postures.
So I guess what I hear you saying is it's like introducing the idea of impossibility.
Yeah.
You know, and becoming okay with treating the impossibility as possible, but then being okay when it's
a long climb to get there. And like a daily, for months, kind of slow progress or...
Yeah, people think that the Marichasanas, but that one right there is usually a sticky point. And then it introduces the circular motion of the hip, which comes into play, and I guess it's there in the other Janusirsasanas, but not as...
Yeah, you're not as forced to
You don't have to find it.
But you do well to find it. It's to feel the same action and then and learn from Janu C, because it's all the same, actually.
And even in Baddha Konasana, when they tell you to open up the feet, yes?
Yeah.
So it's kind of bringing in some of that again, that I can feel the circular.
Yeah.
And then Ekapada, and then, let's not even go into
No,
that. No. We just like not go there. Yeah. So, I guess you could say it's important.
Very.
To work it.
Yeah.
To work it. Like, it's the work in it that gives us
and,
the benefit.
And the hip. The real thing for Janu C is the hip, is to understand that circularity of the joint and learn to enjoy it, learn to gesture your way into a circular position, and it can be very safe. There's nothing dangerous when you're not attached to an outcome of like, okay, so you put this all.
That circular motion though is so much harder than just taking my arms and just putting it there and putting it down. And I know, and he's been getting on me about this like through my whole practice. So it seemed like a good one for me to ask you about because I figured it actually brought together some of those elements that we've been talking about in the lotus, in all the hip opening, and right there is a good one where it seems like it all comes into play.
It is a little bit more intermediate too, though. It's not like you don't start there in terms of like trying to understand it, and so there would be times when bypassing it might be smart, or at least sitting. But because it's definitely more challenging to even like think of theoretically like what is supposed to happen. It's much easier to even like wonder what shall I do in genre A. C is kind of like, wait a minute, what?
So Julie's question was not all that out of range. That it's a pretty common one, and so I thank Julie for writing in and asking this. And if there's any other questions that you want answered, you can rate David. You can Facebook message him and send him an email through the website davidgarrigues.com, or you can go to ashtangaddispatch.com and send me a message, and I'll see if I can pick his brain on something else. So thanks. This is from Provolone.
Yeah.